Hey guys, it's quote unquote your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great response video. I hope this one won't be too long, but there's actually a couple things in here I want to respond to. It's interesting. I came down here to the basement because I wanted to do a Politicope, about the Canadian trucker protest and the thing in the Ukraine. And so I did it, and then I just deleted it because my heart wasn't in it. And I feel like in the pretty recent past, my heart would have been in it. And I think what it is that I still believe all the same stuff, but I'm not angry about it anymore. And these politicopes that I made, I mean, I thought I was making them, because I liked them, but I'm thinking now that maybe they were just a way for me to deal with my anger issues. Um, so I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I will make some politicopes again someday. But I mean, right now, I kind of don't think that I will. Um, we'll have to see. Um, but I mean, as long as I mean, and to be fair, I probably have said anything that could be said about red pillars. Has already been said. Um, but I even still, I think it can be fun to respond to them sometimes. Um, Taylor obviously isn't like the gift that keeps on giving like Casey is, but you can still respond. He can still respond to some stuff. Taylor is interesting because, um, you know, we can debate or discuss until the end of time. Is Casey a bad guy? Is Undead Chronic a bad guy? Is Ribby a bad guy? Is Red Pill Chris a bad guy? Is Rolo a bad guy? Is Sandman a bad guy? I mean, we know all of them. We can always talk about that. But I mean, I don't. I mean, the bottom line is I don't really care. I don't think you guys care anyway. You guys don't care if those guys are good, good or bad or whatever. Um, for me, what's more interesting is, are they happy? And you know, I think that sometimes people can be unhappy without really noticing it, knowing it to some extent. And so but like and there are different levels of it. And I can't really, if I'm being unclear about it, it's because I myself am not totally sure um what I mean. Um, a little aside here. I had a college professor once who told me, he said, when not me, he told the class. He said, whenever somebody says, "I know what I want to say, I just don't know how to say it," that anytime that's said, it's a lie. Um, you only don't know how to say it if you don't know what you want to say, and I think it's totally true. And that's, I think this is a good example of this. If I'm being unclear, it's because I don't really know what I'm talking about here, about like how people can be sort of subconsciously unhappy. I don't know. I don't think it really makes sense, even though it's something I believe. Um, so for me, like, do I think Undead Chronic or Ribby um, would describe themselves as unhappy? No, no, I don't. And I think that they would be honest. I think that they would be absolutely honest. And when they said, "No, I'm happy," the thing is, I don't believe it. I think that they are unhappy I think that they're unhappy in a way that they themselves are not aware of. I think this is really common with red pillars. Um, so Casey's a little different. I would say that Casey, I wouldn't really say comes off as unhappy. I think he's more stressed out than he's aware of, because that's what it like. Whereas unhappiness, like with Ribby and Undead Chronic, I'm hit with like a feeling of unhappiness from them. Whereas with Casey, I'm more hit of a feeling of like strain, of like stress. Like to me, everything seems very, very forced, but not so much unhappiness. I think that he's happy in a certain way, which is good, which is good. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be sustainable, but I mean, it's good. I like that. Because that, I mean, really at the end of the day, that's the problem. I would say that like if, making videos or watching these videos or commenting videos of like bashing women or quote unquote modern women is making you happier, um, I, I don't know if it would be fair to say that I would endorse it, but I would be. I mean, I think there would be less to criticize it about, Leasley, I think that but I also think that the biggest problem, because 99.9999% of these guys who are making these videos are not going to do something, are not going to go out and hurt women or do something negative to women in their life. It's not going to have any negative impact on women. So I'm not really concerned about how it could potentially damage women. I'm concerned about how it could potentially damage them. And I think it's a situation where chasing these feelings of anger and frustration can be addictive and feel good in a way in the short term, while making you more miserable without you even noticing it. Kind of like me with anger. What women are to these guys, white liberals are to me. So it's never should seem like I don't sympathize with MGTOWs. I sympathize with them so much. And it's like, I am a MGTOW. It's just my MGTOWness manifested differently. Instead of obsessing over women, I obsessed over white liberals. Or, before that, maybe it was immigrants. And before that, it was, I don't know. But, I'm sorry, we're way off topic here. But anyway, but here's the interesting thing. The reason I bring this all up is Taylor, I don't get any sense of unhappiness from him. I really don't. And I don't even get the sense of like strain or stress from him that I do from Casey. It's really odd. I don't get. I mean, so I mean, I guess good for him. Like honestly, it kind of feels almost like he talked to me. It feels to me like he talks about women the way I talk about red pill content creators. Like it's just something he finds fun. Well, not that, because I think he seems a little bit more personally offended, whereas red pill content, again, I don't feel any personal affront by red pill content creators. There's nothing that I've really ever heard them say that I could regard as an attack. Whereas he seems to take women's standards or complaints as kind of a personal insult. So maybe a little bit it's not a perfect comparison to me, but that's what it seems like. So it's interesting to me, being as somebody who can't really relate, that, a guy can be emotionally invested enough in this that he can make videos literally every day complaining about modern women and do it without, really any any signs of anger or bitterness, or at least big signs of anger or bitterness, or that it's negatively impacting him, which is not something I would expect. So I guess congratulations to Taylor on that front. And I just think it's unusual, and it goes to show that reality doesn't necessarily always conform to our our philosophical expectations. All right, so let's get into it.
What is going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. So on today's episode, we're going to be kicking it off with this woman right here who is sick and tired of casual dating. She wants something serious, but she can't seem to find a man who's willing to commit to her. So without further ado, guys, let's just jump right in. Make sure to leave your thoughts and your comments.
What are the people out there who don't?
Okay, stop for a second. I want to comment on something that I've noticed from seeing a lot of these TikTok videos. This particular young woman is not a great example of it. I think that she's fairly attractive. I think she's somebody who I would find more attractive if I saw her in person as opposed to this video. But she looks, I mean, maybe she's wearing a little too much makeup, but she seems, nice hair, seems to be okay, is attractive. And, although she's not real, she doesn't necessarily do a ton for me. I do, like I said, I can recognize that she's attractive. However, as a guy who's watched a fair amount of Taylor videos, often he's responding to stuff made by young women, and I think most of them look pretty bad to me. They look, I mean, they're young, they're young, white, and fit, and they don't look good. And I'm not saying that this isn't supposed to be like a bitches ain't shit thing. I'm not saying that young women or young white women aren't attractive. I don't really see a lot of young women IRL, so I couldn't tell you. But if I just went by TikTok videos, I would say yes, they are getting less attractive. Although I know that that's not true, obviously. And I think it's because of the way Zoomers are with makeup. I mean, Zoomer girls really cake that shit on, and it looks awful. It looks awful. So yeah, that's like a pet peeve of mine. I don't know what it's about. But I mean, the whole generation is, I don't know. I don't even dislike Zoomers. I just think that they just seem so lost to me. But yeah, back to the video.
Don't want something casual, who wants to have a strong relationship with someone. They want them to be like their partner, their teammate, and you guys grow together and you do fun stuff together. Like, why doesn't anybody want that anymore?
There are plenty of people who want that. You just don't want them. Guys, think of all the people, all of the men that this woman has in her friend zone right now, right?
Yes. And even, I was supposed to say, there was a time in the past where I would have been more sympathetic with this and this line of argument. And even when I saw the video, when I was watching it through the first time, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, he's right. He's got a point. But then I thought about it some more. And before, within 30 seconds, I'd realized, you know what? No, what he's saying is not fair. Because, we need to think about, does she unquestionably have a lot of orbiters who would love to be in a relationship with her? Yes, I'm not disputing that. I mean, the number is probably literally in the hundreds when you count the online orbiters. However, I don't think that's to bring up the orbiters is fair, because what I think she means is, and I think the black pill or even red pill at this stage response is, oh, she only wants Chad. I don't think she necessarily means Chad. I think she means her looks match, within her social circle. So somebody who she would meet in class, at work, or somebody from somebody who's like an appropriate match for her. And looks would be one of the things she would be looking at. So what is she, like a 6.5 or a 7, or you say something right like that? And she's looking for a guy who's going to be, a match of that. And a guy of like that who's, maybe about around her age. Maybe he's like a 7 in looks overall, like he has like a 7 face and he's 6 feet tall. So that's nothing. I mean, that's nothing for upper middle class white Americans. Like, that's not that unusual. Okay. It's not like, I mean, that's a pretty common, those people like that. No, they're not like mushrooms after the rain, but I'm saying we're not talking about like 6'9" or something. And we're not saying his face has to be, a young Jude Law. But, maybe even something like 5'11", like a 5'11" guy. How about that? 5'11", and granted, I mean, she wouldn't go with that 5'11", 7 face guy who's in shape, who's, about as educated as she is, and from a similar, I don't know if economic strata matters so much, but certainly, cultural similarity in economic strata. Like, she's not going to want to be with some lower class guy. Women don't like to be with guys who are of like a lower class or less cultured than they are. At least not much less cultured than they are. So she So a guy like that, so we're talking about guys in a narrow age range who are, average height or above, who are good looking, who are, about as educated as her, and, have got that kind of same, and they're attractive in the kind of the same way she is, and kind of like the preppy Zoomer type way. I mean, she doesn't necessarily have huge pickings because she's limited to those kind of guys in the circle who she deals with. Well, most of those guys almost certainly are in relationships with other girls like her. So, and the fact, so the ones who aren't are likely, more player types, or they've got something wrong. And look, maybe she is shooting way out of her league and she's going after some Chad types, but we don't have enough information to assume that. And I don't think it's the most likely thing. I think what she's probably going after is her looks matches, her looks match, cultural match, age match, social match, whatever. And that seems to me what's most likely. And so she's got a real problem. So it's easy for, whatever the Taylors of the world to say, like, oh, well, we have no sympathy because you could just go for one of your orbiters. Like, well, you're saying that she just has to settle for her non-looks match? I mean, like somebody below her looks match, why should she? What's in it for her? Now, I mean, maybe down the road, that's something else. But right now, they're like, you can say that like she should do that, or if she's not going to, she shouldn't complain. But I think it's a reasonable thing to express frustration about. And I think it's totally reasonable for somebody not want to date below their value. I mean, not value, to be below their own looks, below their own SMV level.
Who would happily have a relationship with her, who would happily go on dates and take her out to places to eat and everything like that, to grow together. There's plenty of men in this woman's friend zone. But you see, there's none that she's attracted to, right? Because all of the guys that she wants won't commit to her.
It's just me. Like, am I alone? Am I dying alone? Because I don't want casual.
Yeah, and yet you find yourself going back to it over and over again.
And that I think is a reasonable criticism. So, what I would say if I was going to give this young lady advice, I would say, first of all, I think you have to recognize the reality of your situation, that, we're in a, a hypersexualized and increasingly rootless society. So it may be, more difficult than it was in the past to find an LTR. But, some of that is going to have to be, you kind of have to adjust to the world as it is, not as you wish it was. And the first thing I would do is to say, if casual isn't what you want, then don't accept it. Then say, make it clear. I mean, I don't think you have to go all FDS. I think that's going to be counterproductive. But I mean, make it clear from the beginning, like that you're not looking for anything casual. And that, I think that would be the first thing that I would say. And I think one reason it's hard for women is that she's probably either limiting herself, either, like I said, to her social group, to online dating, and to guys who are coming on to her. And that's tough to do because, well, I'm sure there are a lot of guys coming on to her. They're guys that she would find acceptably attractive and want a relationship. That may actually be a small number. So it's not like the complaints that she's making are baseless. So dealing with that, it would be tougher because, you've had women or, kind of expect to be pursued. And I've seen this from a lot of women express frustration about not being pursued by the guys they want because they don't know how to go out and pursue the guys they want. That's not something that comes naturally to them. And a lot of times it's a role that they're not comfortable with. And they a lot of times maybe they don't even believe it's a role women should do, that it's unfeminine to do it. Just like I think some guys would be uncomfortable with being pursued. I know none of my viewers would be uncomfortable with it, but me personally, I would be extremely uncomfortable with it. So for her, I would say with any guy you meet, I would make it clear that from the beginning, like, look, I'm not interested in anything casual. So like, like if you want to start dating and try to do this, I'm down. I like you, but I'm only looking for something long term. So that means that we're not going to be sleeping together anytime soon. If you're willing to wait and see where this goes, then absolutely. Like once we both decided this is something we want long term, then yeah, absolutely. Then I'm all about it after that point. But before then, no. So and that's the first thing I would do, because if you allow these casual relationships to happen, they're going to keep happening, and it's going to prevent you. It's just going to be emotionally draining for you, and it's going to be it's going to make it harder for you to find something long term. But the other thing is, even though I think it's reasonable to have look standards, I know you want a guy who's around your age, who's maybe he's a certain height, a certain look stage, and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with having those preferences or requirements or whatever you want to talk about. However, if a long-term thing is really important to you, I actually would encourage compromise on superficial traits in the interest of long-term compatibility. Like maybe be open to looking for guys who are a little bit older and maybe are more established. I don't mean like 30 years older. I mean like, maybe like she's 22 or 21 or whatever, guy in their late 20s who's maybe got off a breakup and is only looking for something serious because that's where he is in life. Or, maybe a guy your age who's a little shorter than you'd like, or he's not quite as good looking as you'd like. Stuff like that. Just try to widen the net a little bit so you have more prospects. Because, yeah, while you have unlimited amount of guys, nobody knows better than you that a lot of those guys either A, aren't desirable, or B, don't want anything serious. So, you've got to, it's about giving yourself a better chance. And I say this a million times, because if it's about that long-term partnership you're talking about growing together and shit, looks are the least important part of that. I get that the looks are the most important part of that, the initial attraction. I get that. But for a long-term relationship, like over the course of, 40, 50 years, looks are, I'm not going to say they don't mean anything, but they are far and away the least important part of it. So be willing to compromise on it a little bit. And I think you'll have better odds. So yeah, he's got more shit in this video, but I mean, it's already over 20 minutes, and maybe I'll talk about some of the other stuff he did in this video later. But I think for now, that's enough. Yeah, that's all for now, and I'll see you guys in the next.
Guys, go.
Oops. Now that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.